What's up? What's up? I'm just about to do some videos about fuel tanks. Can't have you all over the video, can I? Don't go under there, it's all painted. Get out. Get out of there. You get paint all over you. Anyway, right, so yeah, I've been doing some work on the Landrover and just been painting the chassis. Get out of there. You get it all over your head. Now I've made a stainless steel exhaust system for it, which you can sort of see down there, at least in part. It comes out the side there. It's a second-hand exhaust system. Exhaust box I picked up for £30 at a auto jumble, and together with a few bits of pipes. I've used a stainless steel flexible section off a Volkswagen I picked up in a scrapyard about 20-30 years ago, and I've eventually got round to using it. Seems to be doing a job. Now the next stage is the fuel tank. Now I went round and round and round. What am I going to do over the fuel tank? I thought get a sort of steel one. Couldn't fit a standard Land Rover one because it wouldn't fit in for a few reasons which I won't go into. Then I thought stainless steel one, custom made. Then I thought aluminium, custom made. Then I started looking at boat tanks, which is what this is. It's HDPE plastic, high density poly something or other, ethylene, polyethylene. Right, so it's a boat tank. Now I've managed to find in my boxes of junk, I already had a compatible fuel level gauge sender unit, so I had to do a few little mods to it, and it's fitted in there. And you can see I've written on the top some info for me. Right, this boat fuel tank, as standard, it didn't come with a diesel return, which is what that is there. Right, the normal diesel return cap on or fitting on these is actually blue, but what this is it's the same one as the pickup, except the pickup has a long tube, so I've basically sawn the tube off and I've stuck it in there, and I've put it down with some silicone, well, gasket sealant, so it doesn't leak. Right, it comes with a filler. It's a 38 litre fuel tank, this Nuva Raid, Geneva, Italy. Yeah, 38 litre. Now you can get this with a diagonal filler on it, but it's quite a small bore filler hose, probably not really suitable for trying to go to a garage with it. Now I know a number of people have started fitting boat tanks in custom vehicles, and so this isn't anything too unusual. Now the problem is I've got to try and fit a filler neck onto a HDPE plastic tank. So what I've got is I've got a plastic welder, which is this rascal here. It's basically like a big hairdryer, but this is over 1000 watts. Just slip that off. Basically, it's a 1000 odd watt hairdryer, 1080 watts. So this was on eBay, cost me about £40 I think, and the idea is you can melt HDPE plastic. Now HDPE needs around 540-ish degrees to C to melt it, and this at maximum goes to 550, so hopefully it's just about hot enough for doing work on this tank. So yeah, I'm doing lots of firsts with this. I've welded aluminium down at the side here, I've welded stainless steel for the exhaust. Now I'm going to be welding HDPE plastic. Now I want to fit a filler neck on this in some sort of position. Now I'm toying around with I've got two nice uni-strut sections which are mounted, which I've welded in right across the chassis here, from one side to the other. Still got to paint the far end black. Now I know some people say that's too close to the prop shaft. Well, I've actually examined it, and for the prop shaft to hit those uni struts, the axle at the back would have to travel past the bump stops in order to for them to interfere. So I have measured it and checked it. I don't think it's very likely that the axle's going to go higher than the bump stops. Well, hopefully not. Not in standard usage. Right, and if there was some sort of issue at any point, I could put a chop in them and then weld a section so that it's higher. Now the fuel tank is I say 38 litres. It's managed to just sit under the seating area, fairly reasonable. And I've got this boat, stainless steel boat filler neck. Now it's not a locking one, so it would be better if it was inside of the passenger door, so I'm plonking it about there. So in order to do that, basically I'm going to have to try and come up with a way of putting the filler neck position to there. Now if I just wedge that there for the moment, imagine the filler neck there, the fuel filler going in here. I'm a fairly good position because if there was some sort of leak, I'm a reasonable distance away from the exhaust, which is quite far in, about a foot and a half, 18 inches away. So basically I've got a filler neck to attach to that tank in that sort of position. Okay, so I can't just glue or plastic weld stainless steel to HDPE plastic, so I need a filler neck nozzle to come out of there, which this stainless steel can fit into. Now I went online and I did a lot of hunting around, and I found this connector online, Gerbrit or Gebrit, 50mm diameter as it says there. It's got some info on there. Basically this end here is 50mm exactly outside diameter. This end here has got a rubber seal, so this will receive a 50mm outside diameter pipe into here. Now this little gadget here, the filler neck is 50mm outside diameter, apart from that little grip area there, which is designed for sliding a pipe over. So the question is, putting that into there. Now I'm tempted to say that if I was to saw or grind off that little neck area there, then that would push in. Now it could be that I can put a lot of force behind this and it will push in anyway, and the odds are I will have a damned decent seal there because of that rubber seal. So I'm tempted to put a lot of force behind this and see if I can get that in there. And if I can, I've just got to cut this down, cut a hole in here, and try and plastic weld this onto the tank using my plastic welder. Yeah, I've also got HDPE plastic welding sticks, and this little gadget, which is a nozzle for putting on the end. I had to order this separately because the standard, this welder didn't come with this nozzle, and in theory that should fit on there, which it does. So basically I then slide HDPE plastic welding sticks into there, and I feed them and apply and paste on the plastic basically around the two pieces I'm joining. By the looks of things, it didn't come with any sort of clamp to tighten that onto there, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm sure I'll find something, some sort of Jubilee or hose clamp. Yeah, so that's the idea. I've been toying around with various ways of doing this. The other option was that I try and put the filler neck over here and put it on an angle, feeding across, and cut put a diagonal pipe into the tank across like that. Now the problem that I might have is when I go to fill this up, if the filler neck is diagonal, then it means I will have to put the hose in on an angle, and it could be that some hoses at petrol stations won't work if you're putting them in on an angle like 45 degrees. They probably prefer to be vertical like so. Now if I use this seal, this rubber seal which is in here, and the seal is above the height of the tank, when you put the nozzle in, basically at the petrol station, when you dip that nozzle down, if I get the geometry all correct, then the fuel shouldn't get up as high as the seal, other than obviously when you're driving around it will splash around and get up there, but basically the nozzle should sit down inside there, and the fuel trip on the pump should trip out before the fuel gets above the top of this tank. Hopefully that all makes sense. So yeah, I was originally playing around with trying to put that end of the tank over here, but I've got so many various components, pipes and various stuff in that area, and this area here is far simpler. So at the last minute I've just realised, hang on, I should be putting the thing here. The reason I was originally going to put that end over here was because I could flip the passenger seat up, which is over here, which I've been modifying. So basically if I flip the passenger seat up, I could get at the standard filler cap under the seat in the old-fashioned way, like the army had it. Yes, so but last minute I've decided if I'm going to cut a hole in this thing, I should probably do it this end. The fuel pipes will then be travelling a shorter distance. At the moment I've got a bloody stupid aluminium fuel tank stuck in the payload bay at the back, which all this hassle is about. That's got to go. Basically I've got to divert the fuel pipes to here, which is an easy job, easier than sticking them in the back was. Yeah, so there we go. Just got to get around to getting up the courage to start doing this now. I suppose what I should do is I should saw some bits of this off and practice plastic welding with the gun. Onto various things. I did have a small test of the idea several weeks ago, but all I had was a electric soldering iron. See, whatever you move around, there's an animal lurking behind. All I had was a 25-watt soldering iron. So what I did was I cut off some blue HDPE pipe off that piece of scrap there, and this is a HDPE, one of these AdBlue tanks. So I thought, well, let's just see what it does. Anyway, I took the soldering iron to it, and you could actually pick this fuel tank up by this, even though it's only been welded on with a 25-watt soldering iron. It's got quite a bit of strength in it. I have previously tried shifting it by hand and it didn't want to go. So that's what you can do just using a soldering iron. You can join a pipe on. Yeah, so that's the idea. So I think what I'm going to try and do when I come to doing this is I'm going to cut a hole and probably slide this pipe actually into the tank. Also, the wall on this, how thick the plastic is quite thick. Yeah, you can see it at that end, and it's similar at this end, which is why I went for buying this component. It was about £12.50 thereabouts from the Plumb Centre, British plumbing supplier. So you can find this. yeah, so there we go. I'm gonna start playing. Okay, now doing that, holding the camera in one hand and just messing about basically, but this has actually worked out quite well. The little HDPE sticks which I bought actually do feed down through the gun quite well, and that's what I've used to join this little piece of scrap HDPE tube to this offcut of the pipe that I'm going to be joining with, using to join onto the tank. Yeah, it's already cool enough to touch. But basically I've done a quick sloppy HDPE weld running around. Say I've done this pretty fast just to test out the gun. I don't even need to have the gun on full power, and it has done. You can see it's been so strong, the heat, that it's deformed the inside of that thick pipe, which is about 3.5-4 mil thick. So it's definitely penetrated on the heat. You can see I've overcooked it a little bit there, so I'll try and be careful not to do that when I come to doing my tank. But that has pretty much worked. I'm fairly pleased with that. Now, the other thing I've also noticed, the other thing I noticed was this rubber seal which was in the filler neck can be easily removed. Just pull it out with your fingers, and if you take it out, the filler neck, the stainless steel filler neck, fits into this plastic, the HDPE pipe, damned well. Really nice fit. So I'm sort of thinking I could probably get away with just pushing this in and not having any mechanical connection at all other than the push fit of this thing. I could possibly put a little bit of gasket sealant around it when I'm pushing it together, but I think that I could probably run with that. I don't think I'd get any leaks. Also, this filler neck section, the seal is going to be above the tank area, so if we look here, so I don't see a big issue with this, because it is diesel, it's not petrol. Not going to get the same sort of issues. You can see how tight the seal is. I could dump this and put some sort of rubber O-ring inside there, or I could modify this, maybe take a craft knife to it and trim it away a little bit. but I think a big O-ring or sealant is probably the way to go with it. If I just pause the camera, yeah, you see if I pull the neck out of the pipe, you can see the cavity in there where that seal's been sat. So I could just fill that with a form of gasket sealant and put it together, and that would probably do it. In terms of flex, I would normally try and have some sort of flexible joint between the fuel tank and the filler neck on the body, but this is going to be, you know, it's all fairly solidly keyed together. The mounting of the tank and the panel there where the seat sits on top, you know, the seat box. So I don't really think there's a big issue. What I'll probably do is I'll put some thick rubber behind this so that it gives a degree of flexibility. I might even have some like 1 centimeter thick rubber, which will allow some flexation, you know. Yeah, so that's the idea. I reckon I'd be able to probably fit that through the side of the body if the hole's wide enough. I should hopefully be able to fit it in there and then swing the tank into position. So that's the way I'm going. So I'm thinking I'm probably in a position where I could really just chop a hole in that and go for it. I know this is a mess, this one, but I won't make a mess, or I will try not to make a mess of the join on the tank. You know, maybe I should put that in the vise and hit it with a hammer and see what it does. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's pretty much holding up. That's probably a little bit more brutality than it's going to get fitted in the car. So I think I'll go for it. Well, this is where I start to mess my tank up one way or the other. Point of committal. I'm using a large bit with the hope, a 1/4 inch with this routing piece on. I'm sort of hoping that most of the debris will get pulled out. I'm also using quite a slow speed on the drill. I don't want much of the rubbish to go inside the tank, you see. I have drawn a rough line which is smaller than the size I actually need. in theory I could keep some of this plastic and use it to melt back round and make the join. Anyway, I'm going to continue with this and see how it works. Okay, I've actually used a jigsaw to whip round roughly the hole. I've just been trying this in for size, and it's almost there. I want a nice tight fit on this, but with a little bit of wiggle so that I can position it exactly right. Now I'm also using a wood rasp with a curve on it, obviously, to do this. And I don't want too much debris, although I can't really avoid having debris, so I'm going to have to wash this tank out really well when it's finished. And before I actually do the weld, I will run a craft knife round and try and scrape off any loose plastic burrs. And I will obviously have a fuel filter go into the engine to catch any bits of plastic which may still be in there. But I think I'm virtually there. I'm trying to do this at 45 degrees into the hole. So this pipe will sit in at near enough the correct angle. Say I'm virtually at the point it's going to fit. Ah, there we go. So that should sit nicely right down like so. Not too bad, if I do say so myself. So I reckon I could push that all the way down to that position and weld that round. I'm going to try this in position in the Jeep, well, in the Landrover I should say, and see how it looks. Right, well, the tank is sat pretty much where it's going to be, and that's sitting quite nicely. Yeah, just a little bit of messing around, checking the alignment and so on, and then I'm going to have a go at plastic welding that. As I say, first I'll try and clean the tank out a little bit, and then have a go. If I push that back, see, that looks fairly reasonable. Right, so what I'm doing is I'm using the gun and I'm feeding this round, and I'm basically welding this piece into the gap. Whether this is going to be strong enough, I don't know. After I've done it, I'm going to go around again and try and push it in and get a deeper sort of weld to it. I may even go over it another 2 times and put successive layers of this HDPE on. It's not very easy for me to video this, so I'm just going to try and do my best with this and see how it works out. I don't want to be focusing on trying to get this on film and ruin the actual job. Okay. No idea if this is in camera. Just quickly show you how it's looking. Let's see, where are we? Yeah, so you can see how that is basically welding on, and it's looking quite nice all the way around, to be honest with you. I will finish this off and see how it feels for strength and so on. Okay, I reckon it's certainly going to be a nice diesel proof seal. Right, okay, so it's not beautiful. It was nicer, you know, on the first pass, smoother, and if I worked at it I could make this really tidy, I suppose, but this is my first go at basically plastic welding a HDPE boat fuel tank, and you know, considering basically an hour ago I'd never tried it, and now I have, and you know, I'm fairly happy with how it's worked out. I've got a good degree of heat you know, transferred into the actual tank. The tank was quite thick. It was about 3/8 of an inch thick. See how thick that is compared to my thumbnail. So you know, there's a lot of HDPE. It's a tough tank, that. and I think the filler that I've put on it is not too bad. So what I may do is I may permanently fix this into here. I might try and squeeze that gasket back in and force it in through the gasket, and have the gasket make that seal. Now I'm not sure what this gasket is designed for though. What sort of fluids? It might just be for water, it might not be for fuels. So I'm not 100% sure on the best sort of way, but you know, it's quite a good fit. I reckon I'll be able to find some sort of product which will bond that in, and what I may do is I might just fix that in and just have a hole on the side which is big enough for this part to be visible, or I might cut a large hole so that that sits inside, and then put an aluminium plate mounting this piece onto there, if you know what I mean. So I could put a rectangular plate. I could mount this on some sort of rectangular plate, cut a large hole in the side of the aluminium there, and then bolt that on. I think you get the idea. So basically this will be permanently fixed to it. I could rig some sort of slightly flexible sort of fitting on the side as well, but yeah, I'm happy with that. Considering I was thinking of getting a stainless steel or an aluminium tank, and it would have cost me quite a few £100, and the question would have been, well, will it fit? You know, I'd have to spend a lot of time drawing accurate diagrams of how it had to be made, because the odds are I couldn't find someone local to make it. I did toy around with trying to weld one in aluminium or stainless steel myself, but in the end I just sort of thought, after using my spool gun, I thought, no, I can't get enough quality using that spool gun. So this is the way I've gone, and I'm happy with it.